So I'm gonna present my screen to. And feel free to break in with questions as you have them, because I might forget to say everything that's need to be said. There are actually two new OCL operators, one called PSEval and one PSEvalue, and the description isn't very much today, but it's you can use it on type level, so some class PSEval, and then you can give another expression. And what's cool with this is that this expression is evaluated in persistent storage and turned into SQL, and the value is returned, and then you give the max fetch and an offset and a depend on attribute or something, an expression here as well. So these two.
I'm used to PS expressions being limited in terms of, I think primarily not being able to refer to derived attributes. Is that still true?
Yeah, so that's still true because the derived attributes aren't really available in the database. So there are that's still a thing, but what we have had before is that the persistence access is always in a separate step. So I've started a system over here.
So could you maybe use this to use a regular OCL statement to do the derived attribute work first, and then persistent storage in that inline component you're talking about?
Yeah, so there's lots of different use cases that this could be helpful. Before we have had to switch completely between either OCL or OCL-PS. So if I limit this to 10 and press execute, I see I have 10 there, and if I do OCL, I get the whole batch because everything is loaded into memory. And we can validate this by doing like thing all loaded objects size, and see, okay, there's 301 of those, and if I were to restart the system and check how many are loaded, 0, and if I go on OCL PS, limiting this to 10, and checking this, I have only 10, but as soon as I do this once, I will have all of them in memory. So this is fine when it's only 310, but if it's 1,000,000 or something like that, it won't scale at all. So we quite often need to have the OCL PS to limit the fetching. Usually when you, well, it's not uncommon anyway, that you have links like this between a thing and a detail, and this grows and grows and grows over time. So it might be hundreds of thousands details on a thing, and it's fine to go from the thing up to the detail. That's not a problem, but when we have 100,000 details, we need to be careful not to navigate that way. And that's a pity, really, that we need to thinking about these issues. They will always be there, but it would be good if there were another way to handle some kind of derivation, maybe, so that we could access a subset of these quickly from the root, the thing we have here. And a thing like PSEval, the new operator, can really do this, because what this can do is, if we switch to this, let's restart this again, so we only have 0 loaded, and I'm still in OCL, but I'm gonna take the type and then the new operator PSEval, and then an expression. And let's bring this editor up to see if maybe I haven't fixed that one yet. So no, I haven't fixed that issue. The first argument is how many we want to take. So let's say we want to take 10, and this second argument, or the third really, after this expression, is how the paging should work. So it's the first 10, starting at 0. Or really the offset. So if I had written 10 here, it would have taken from number 10 to number 20. Let's put this at 0. And then I can put an expression to sort of watch, and I'm gonna go into that a bit more later, but okay, maybe. I'm annoyed that it doesn't show up here, but I've recently done some changes to filter this, and I'm not sure if that's the reason. But this is a valid expression, and I get the 10, and there are only 10 loaded. And what we have done is switched from, we're still in OCL evaluation, but this has been executed in the persistence fetch mode, and we can do things like select here maybe and some string equals and all of those are B, and if I make this A, there are none. So, and okay, 20. So the first 10 with no criteria was 10 of them, and then I had the BBB, and then there were 10 more. So 20 in total have been loaded. So what you can use this for is, maybe we should go the other way around. Let's take, well, what we can do this for, since this is an expression that ends up in the result from this PS fetch, we can continue working in OCL now. So from this I can follow all the details. So these are the details of the 10 of the things that start with AAA, but they were none, so I guess I'm gonna go with the B's. Yeah, now I have some. So these are actually the detail objects. And now that might be interesting to see if yeah, let's see what we can do with that. Maybe we should do a group by here instead. So group by x dot so x will be a thing, and I'm gonna group it on yeah, what I'm gonna group it on. I was gonna get the I'm now thinking like this. I'm gonna collect the X details size, so I can see how the spread is of the detail objects over the different thing objects that I collect. Okay, all of them have 549, so there's some job going to filling this up probably. Let's see if it's, yeah. So one thing would be to use this operator in a derived association. Let's try that. Suppose there are many details in a thing and we want to access some of them. I'm not sure which one as of yet, but some of them we want to access. So we're going to change this to being a derived association. And since I'm only interested into following it in one direction, I'm gonna make this one navigable and that one not navigable. And since this is derived with OCL, I can start from detail and go to PS. Oh, now they show up. So we see the text from the wiki here as well. So now I can do PSEval, and I want the details from the thing I'm on, and that's self, and I want to follow really these details, but I only want 10 of them starting from 0. But then yeah, maybe let's try it like this. Just leaving this as a that's just an expression that we're going to use to subscribe to this, but let's try this first. So that should return the collection of detail, but only 10 of them. So saving that, and since this is a database, I need to evolve it so that we are the same. I'm going to reread the model, and so now okay, I never paid any attention to the naming, but this is named detail, and I can see I only get 10 of them. So that's one way to make really good use of it. But the tricky part, and that has always been what has stopped us from doing anything like this before, is that we can't really subscribe to the things in the database. Now, this set will be like this forever, or rather, this set won't ever change because there's no reason for it to change. Even if we're adding new details and removing stuff, the first evaluation of this derived association will stay the same. So that has been a big issue, that how could we do anything like this without confusing more than we help. And that's what this fourth parameter is for. It's something that helps you to subscribe to something so that you can control when this operation will be re-evaluated. So if this one were to be instead of just sending in an empty string, which won't change either, we can send in self dot some integer. So whenever some integer changes, the whole expression is invalidated. And let's see what we get effect from that. To make it even more obvious, we could also use the sum int to control how many we should fetch. And since this is a database, I'm just gonna evolve this. Well, now I guess I should have renamed it to details derived and upload that model, and we're done. And details derived. Because I haven't reloaded them all. So 0, all right. Add another expression here to get a hold of them again. If I now set this sum int to 5, and I run this one again, I see I fetched 5 on this first thing, so that works. And if I change this to well, I change it to 20, and of course now I'm running in Debugger, so I need to execute it to re-evaluate it. But if this had been in a, yeah, of course, it should be in this details derived link. Cool. So now there are 20, and if I were to change this to 10, there are 10, and 0, there are 0. So this is really a big thing, because now we can page extremely large data sets easily and very efficiently make sure that derived things get the data set without even needing to do anything special or having special handles or special modes on the operators. We can just stay in OCL and do derived links like this. How cool is that? Have I lost you?
I like it, Hans.
I like it a lot, yeah. It's great. Yeah, I wish yeah. Why didn't you do it sooner is the question.
Yeah. Because and when we come to think of it, we have done a lot of special things in view models to sort of get around this limitation before. We have the PS expression columns that we detect, and we have this out of loop thing, and we have the special self VM PS expression fetch, etc. There are a lot of things like that that we that really is covered by these operators, that could have been sold by these operators instead. And I think it's a very nice addition that it brings things together.
I've never heard of a derived association.
All right, that's the thing. It's the new black.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, so the other operator, and that's extremely similar to this, is the PSEval value. So since if this worked to get the objects, returning the objects, we have the one we called value, which can and that doesn't take 4 parameters because we don't have a max or a limitation on how much we get there. But this is so the PSEvalue expression must result in a primitive like integer or double. So this way we can do things like size and have that turned into SQL, and we get the result back. So that's cool to know how much data there really is in something without needing to load it. So 153 in this case. And if we do we can do things like taking all the thing that has some string equals b and follow it to some integer and do sum, I guess, to do simple arithmetic in the database. So this is not an operator, it's an attribute on the object. No, it turned out wrong. Parameter as object. Not sure if haven't tried that one. Let's see, add expression just in. So that's an error on the value cannot be null. Okay, it sums a lot of things that are null. So if we do it like this, only select the ones that aren't null, and a some int no, that wouldn't work. I'm not sure why. Yeah, I need to check that one. And I will get back to you on that one. I know there's at least one. Oh, I haven't saved this one. So, and that's another issue. If we do a lot of changes on data and we do PS fetch, that those changes aren't available to us until we save it. And now it's like misbehaving for some reason, maybe because we had these. Yeah, now we at least have one. So let's see if we Yeah, now it works. So if we gonna add this one to 20, saving that one. So we got 2 of those. Can we then do some int operator sum? Yeah, I'm not sure it was the correct value. So yeah, so in OCLPS we can't return tuples, so that gave an error on the standard. We're switching to OCL now, so we see the one was 0, so the sum was really 20. That was okay then. Switching that to 100, saving that 100 like that, and then we do sum 120, switching to OCLPS to see if the database can answer the same. Yes. So, and then this one should also answer 120. Let's change this to 101 to see that I'm not lying. So, and then you can do things like that. Having that possibility, you could like do attributes to count how many details you have, and have that sort of influence what is fetched in the derived details, to do things differently depending on the volume of data. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That will help us. I think I've started to use it in some server-side jobs that I normally need to divide up in a lot of out of loops and switching to PS evaluation, but now they can all be very compact. I did one thing with SQL import from another database, and we have a thing in the server-side jobs that does this really nicely, and for each row it sees from the foreign database, it can also run actions in the view model nesting. And in that action, I use this PSEval to do further initiation and lookups of things to assign links depending on the data that came in. So and everything turned out to be really compact and non-convoluted to solve to tie things together with multiple links from external data. So I really like the effect of that. And of course, the server-side jobs aren't depending on this ability to subscribe and detect changes like we are with having things in the UI. But as we have this expression that we subscribe to and we will reevaluate when it changes, it solves a whole batch of other problems for search and paging, and if you have infinite scroll bars and things like that, if you want to have an infinite scroll, it has been really convoluted to get that to work before. It has been possible by doing like a periodic action that reacts to some change and activates an action that executes something new. But this is much more streamlined and efficient. So
I have a question, Hans, if you want to take questions now or
yeah.
wait. So the IOCL PS service has an expression evaluation. Are you adding the subscription stuff to that?
No, not so much. It's more like we're have exposed this operator and these two operators, the PSEval, which is a type operator, in the OCL. And what happens here is that it's when it sees the first argument of this operator, it switches in the internal evaluation. And that means that things that you really can't do, that are forbidden in PS, will be forbidden even here. So that's pretty cool, because sometimes you are not quite sure what's allowed, and that has been a hassle when you're doing some of the PS expressions. So let's say a thing that's not allowed is to follow the derived links. So if I were to set a parenthesis and do something like a dot, and I'll take this details derived, it says well, and now it's not allowed because, and we say not empty on that. Oh, derived members can't be used here because this part is evaluated as PS. So that's that you can't do. But of course, you could do it after here, because then we have the result is a list of things, and we do details derived not empty on all of those, and we will get the result from that, a valid result.
Yeah, I really like what you've done there in the OCL editor and doing this feature in the OCL, but my question is more on if I'm writing in C# code, I'd like to be able to utilize some of these extra features you've added where it'll reevaluate basically on subscribing to the properties that are used in the expression.
How you can do that is by utilizing the OCL interfaces, and then you sort of construct the expressions like this, and if you have like a variable or something in
so I can write it in regular OCL rather than, and call regular OCL eval rather than a PS eval?
Correct. So,
okay.
So a regular OCL evaluation, and using the PSEval operator within that, you will get this effect.
Okay. Yeah, this has been something that I've wished was there for many years, so thank you.
Yeah, good.
Next question leads me to, can I do something similar with link?
Yeah, not now, because Link has its own sets of operators, and we are not really privy to add and remove those. I guess, yeah, it wouldn't be impossible for us to add it, but we haven't exposed the PSEval operator to Link. No, sorry. So that's only in OCL for now.
Do you think there will be any plans to do that? I mean, the reason that I actually have been using Link a lot more lately is because debugging is so much easier. And if PS expression doesn't function, it gets tricky to try to figure it out. But in Link, it's much easier.
Yeah, it is. So
I've been here in the last session.
yeah, so yeah, something we showed in the last session to make it easier to debug the OCL is this new stop functionality. So you can sort of step through your OCL to see what's going on. So that's a new debugging feature that we showed last time to sort of, and you can go through iterations and go into and derivations, etc. to
breakpoints for it to stop so you can step.
Yeah, it isn't actually any breakpoints in it as of yet, but you can fast forward if you get stuck in iterations to move out of those to see what the next step would be after that. So now we went through all the 301.
One of the other reasons I like Link as well as a standard in C#. So
Yeah, of course, that's not a replacement. I'm just noting that we're doing things in OCL mainly now, and of course the prioritization from our side is where we have users and where we can make a buck, we do it.
Yeah.
So we often do this paid user paid for extensions, that there's one user that has a good idea that is willing to pay for the cost to develop it, and then we give a fixed price and we add the things for everyone to use.
Okay, well that's good to know because I might be interested in that down the road.
Yeah.
If you don't mind a tangent question, it's been quite a while since I've been up on anything as far as where the source code, the ownership is. Because the last I knew years ago, Embarcadero owned that. And that's one of the reasons you went the direction that you did as far as making more of a standalone application that can run OCL and you don't have to compile C#.
Yeah. So as it's pretty clear to us that MDriven is its own entity and having full ownership of the MDriven stack, which is based on a product similar to Eco, and that's what was said in the contract, because Eco, as it was explained in the contracts with Embarcadero, was for the Borland development environment. So everything from beyond that, going into Visual Studio and embracing .NET fully, is first a thing of capable objects, but now that has been handed over to MDriven.
So sorry, but my internet connection, you broke up on me and I didn't hear exactly who owns.
That might be the American lawyers owning the internet. No, MDriven is fully in charge of all the source code driving the MDriven stack.
Okay, and that includes all of the underlying Eco code?
Yes. So
okay.
It's similar to the Eco product, but it's not the Eco product. That's an important distinction.
Okay.
So as far as the Embarcadero defined it, Eco was the product that ran in BDS, and Capable Objects was allowed to do similar derivative products from that.
Okay. So you can still make money selling the plugin for Visual Studio as
Yes,
well then?
yes.
Okay.
And also we have source code contracts to get access to the complete source, etc. to for some clients that need to ensure in any eventuality to have access to source code. So we do that.
I don't know if it's worth anything to you, Brian, but I worked in Eco 3 since it was introduced back in 2006. And I'm in the process now of moving it into Visual Studio, and I'm surprised at the ease at which we're doing it. And there's several reasons. One being that it's .NET, two being that my source code is C#, and three being that it's model driven, and so the bulk of my business logic exists in my model and not in my interface or other places where it shouldn't be. But it is actually, and Hans has been a huge help with it, but that path forward from way back to .NET 1.1 is very real.
Yeah, cool. Good to hear that you're doing progress. You will be landing the plane in spring sometime, maybe.
I have a full working prototype, which is impressive.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Hans. I didn't mean to sidetrack your meeting, but thanks.
No, that this is what these meetings are for, an open discussion, and usually things derail so quickly, so I have to use all of the meeting time to get back on track. But and now what I meant to show has been shown, so I'm happy. But as starts you think to when we have this new possibility that like if I were to do a new view model for something, like on no that I said I should do a new one, and let's make it on detail. We have these quick access to do a seeker form for this class detail now. So, and the seeker logic in the view model define these different seek expressions, and of course that's still good, even if I in reality could just take this vseek param and send it into a PSEval expression now, because what this does in added value is that it loops through. If it doesn't find anything on this expression, it will use that expression instead, without the user having to fill in different fields, etc., and push different buttons. It's just one button and all the evaluations are done. And so there's still good use for these being PS expressions, I guess. Yeah, I can add a class action to show this one, show view model 1, and then save this. Let's see. Yeah, it requires a root object, so I should have pushed that one. I made it a global action. I'm gonna delete that. And if I start that up and look at the things, view one thing, and look at the show view model 1. Yeah, now I have a seeker to look through all the things. And if I were to put in like a criteria, because that was not in the attribute 1, it was in the thing. Too bad. So I'm gonna bring one up. Oh no. Yeah, that wasn't a very good example, but point being that the seeker logic is still a valid thing even if we have this new operator. So what do you think, Emily? It will be helpful in our project?
I think so, yes. Would be really helpful. Also shorten some of the code really much. Make it more compact, more readable.
Yeah, compress it and
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's good. Great.
There's one place that I'll use it a lot, Hans, and that's in derived associations that will return too many records. You might have tens of thousands on the association and you only want to return 5.
Yeah.
But you can't do it in a derived association because it would pull all 10,000 to get the 5. So it'll be really helpful in those situations.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be great. And also now you can do a simple thing like having attributes that state how much data there is, so the user will know ahead of time quite easily to page things and like that. So, things like that. I know I've done a lot of when you have time dependent data and you want an universal scroll over time that never ends. That would be really great to just have the start and stop time as and subscribe to those, and whenever start and stop changes, the view is updated. So and just the window of between start and stop is fetched. Super. Good. And if there aren't any more questions for tonight, I think we call it a night, and I welcome you in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Thanks.
Great.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Hans.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hans.
Thanks. Bye.